Welcome to another episode of the Advice First podcast. This is your host, Robert Clark. I'm joined this full season, as always, with our co-host and CEO of Prosperitas, Mr. Chris Ingram. Chris, welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to introduce our guest?
No, you roll with it.
Okay, all right. The man of the hour for today's episode, I am so excited to introduce. This is a hard man to track down. We've been trying to get him on the podcast for, I want to say 6 months, and just a busy guy.
He is.
But I see the suit he's rolling up in, and I'm like, now it makes sense. He's a guy in demand, and we're lucky to be joined by you, Mr. Fred Wachtel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
It's great to have you here. So, as we typically like to just start, let's paint the picture. Tell us a little bit about how Fred got into the financial advisory business.
How did I start here? So I grew up in New York, and just about everybody I knew was a financial, well, back then it was a stockbroker. There were no financial advisors. My dad was a stockbroker, and all my friends were stockbrokers, and I said, I'm going to go do something else. And then I became a financial advisor.
Wow. What a story.
I was in car rental for a long time, and I was in customer service for a long time. So I worked at Enterprise. I worked at a company locally called Midway in LA. And what it really came down to is, and I still don't know how it happened, but Morgan Stanley reached out to me and offered me an interview. And instead of commuting to Santa Monica every day, I commuted a mile, and that's really kind of how I got into it. I knew everything about the business. I just didn't know how much I'd enjoy it.
What was it like being a New Yorker in California handling customer service?
Oh, God, I can't even tell you how easy it was. I'll be honest with you. People from New York would come into the car rental place, and my employees would come up to me, and they'd say, Fred, this guy's so mean. He's from New York. And I would walk up. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And we'd just talk. And
there it is.
they just talk.
There it is.
When you say, how you doing?
How you doing?
It's just, everything from there is easier.
Yeah, people in California, and I love all you Californians, so don't think I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little sensitivity level here that you have to get used to.
Yeah.
There is.
Can we backtrack a second?
Sure.
Fred, tell us about your family. Tell us who you are as a person and where the heck you got that fabulous belt buckle from.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the belt buckle, I'm just going to start there and get it out of the way. Amazon.
Okay.
What?
Where I buy everything.
If you can't see it, folks, there is a bull on that belt buckle
For the
bull markets.
I'm not a cowboy. Got no problem with them, but
Beg to differ.
I'm just
you get the truck, the belt buckle, the socks.
Well, that's just
the hair.
I'll tell you, Santa Clarita, I never thought I'd be a pickup truck guy. I love my truck, man. Never thought I have for my daughter swimming, I have a big giant cowboy hat, straw hat.
Nice.
Why are you denying this?
How are you saying?
No,
you're
I'm not saying, I'm
cowboy?
just saying.
Maybe this is what we need to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's just from years of being a Giant fan and hating the Dallas Cowboys. I think that just the word cowboy. But then, you know,
Yeah, it's just a football
Yellowstone
team.
came out. Now, Cowboys are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, my lovely wife Denise, been with her for 27, 28 years now. Married for 22, and my daughter is 12. Her name's Hannah. She swims for Canyon Aquatics, and she is fast. And my dog, Gremlin, who is a gremlin.
There's a whole podcast that we
On
can do on
Gremlin.
Gremlin.
Yeah, we don't
It
have any
really
pens
is.
lying
He's a
on the ground,
beautiful
do we?
little dog. Great little dog. He's got an underbite. Kind of looks like Beast because he's got 2 teeth sticking up all the time, but he gets into stuff.
Yeah. You know what I thought about, totally random on the way here? I was like, the three of us have something really great in common, and it's that we all love terrible football teams. How do we feel about that?
Terrible, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like it very much at all.
It's a thankless
My
job.
son apologized over the weekend. He said, I feel bad for you. And I'm like, they're your teams too. And he's like, you've been in this a lot longer. So,
Did you guys win this weekend?
We did win this weekend.
Who beat the
It
Cowboys?
was a great game. Ravens.
Ravens.
Yeah.
Who beat the Cowboys?
Somebody that wasn't supposed to. I forget.
Whoever it was my second favorite team.
So,
Yeah.
side note, as we talk about kind of Fred as a person, Fred is called the Comish around the office because he's the commissioner of our office fantasy football league. He takes this very seriously, by the way, very seriously.
Never wins, but he takes
Never
it
wins.
seriously.
Yep.
Yeah.
I win in other leagues. This one is won by a high schooler.
We've heard about other leagues that he supposedly wins in. We need proof at some point.
We've all lost to the same high schooler for 2 years. So Chris's son has beaten us all for 2 years.
We let my son join, and apparently high schoolers have a lot more time and a lot more resources to best us all at fantasy football.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Need to make that kid go get a job or something more,
I'm
so
trying.
he doesn't have time to
I
research.
keep giving him chores, but he finds a way. I don't know. So-
When's Hannah joining the league?
I don't think ever.
Ever. Okay.
She
I
like
tried,
football?
I'm working on it.
So like football?
Not really. She's big into swimming, and she finally wore a Giant shirt, which made me happy.
There you go.
Besides, when she was an infant, she had no way to say no.
Right.
So she wore it to school one day, and she looked awesome. One
Nice.
of my favorite pictures now.
Sweet.
Huge progress.
Yeah.
Put it on the website.
Yeah. You want to run with it? I mean, you had us backtrack.
I
so
wanted to
let's go
find out
forward.
about his family. I felt like we should know some. He spends a lot of time with his family. And swim is a big part of Fred's life. We should know that. Yeah.
Go to a lot of swim meets,
Yep.
and my wife and my daughter had the opportunity to go to Indiana for the Olympic trials.
Mhm.
So they went to Lucas Oil Field where the Colts play,
Mhm.
and they put in like a $20 million pool in a football stadium.
Mm.
And it was incredible when I saw the pictures and everything. But
Wow.
she got to see all in the elevator with Olympians. So we have pictures with
Wow.
all of her idols. And shortly before that, she made it into the Speedo Grand Challenge, and they had a age group for 12 and under. Her and her friend made it. I think a couple other kids, but there were people there. I think Reagan Smith was there. Simone Manuel was there. Like, she's meeting all these people that are in the Olympics that were her idols, and they're all just trying to make times. Just like she's trying to make times for her next big meet.
Mhm.
So
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's cool.
What's her preferred swim format?
her
style?
favorite stroke is the butterfly,
Mhm.
and the kid's just a hard worker. That's really what it is. She's probably one of the hardest workers when it comes to practice, and she's totally into it, and she has a whiteboard. I didn't do any of this. She does it
I
all
was gonna
herself.
say,
She has
got
a
it from her
whiteboard
mom,
with all.
definitely.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more of the, let's go do this now, where they're more of like, let's prepare. But she has a whiteboard with all the times, all her goals, everything that she
Wow.
just does on her own.
I love that.
And
Very
she's straight A's and smart kid, very beautiful,
Yep.
very
It's incredible.
compassionate, loves her dog.
Yeah.
Proud dad.
I'm going to ask a really dumb question, and hopefully you have the answer. What do they do with a $20 million pool after this event?
That is a dumb question, but
Yeah.
no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
They're actually, from what I read back when they did it, they tore it down. They're going to use it at other events, but they're going to start manufacturing these things, and
Wow.
this way they don't have to build these whole new stadiums for $3 billion when you can just throw this pool in.
For a mere
But if you
20
go
million.
online and kind of look at how they built it up, it was really cool. I mean, they built the platform 10 feet high,
Wow.
and it didn't even look like a football stadium anymore.
Hmm.
Wow. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So they did tear it down. I mean, it's gone.
Oh, yeah, because the Colts have to play.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. Great. Fantastic.
Well, sorry, I took us in a big round path to get where we needed to go, but it was good to hear all that stuff. Yeah, it was fun. Business. Talk to us a little bit. You got into this business. Obviously, you said Morgan Stanley. You've been a couple of different places. What is the general makeup of your clientele? Like, who do you enjoy working with? Who do you spend the most time with? If somebody's listening out there and they're thinking about, should I have Fred as my financial advisor? Who's the ideal client for you, and who are the typical people you're working with?
Well, to start out, if you're a Giants fan, New York Giants, you should definitely call me. There's no one else you should be calling in Santa Clarita, because no one else likes the Giants except me.
I know a couple of others, but
They're
Jeez.
financial advisors.
yeah.
They're
You got competition out there, buddy.
Are they good and with Prosperitas, or are they with some substandard?
They're not as good as you, and they're not at Prosperitas.
There you go. So,
yeah.
but I really like working with people who are gearing up for retirement, not necessarily like 2 years down the road, but just people who are focused on that, because that's what I focus on. I'm focused on myself and for my family, thinking about what's going to happen 20 years from now. And it makes it very easy for me to do that type of planning for other people. Everyone says, everyone's different, everyone has a different plan, but a lot of these plans are very similar. They just tweaked a little bit depending on how old somebody is, but I like to find out what their goals are, when do they want to retire, and putting a plan together to get them there. We have Rudy in our office for education planning, so when someone has an education plan that they'd like to talk about, I love helping figure out the finances on that, but it's also good to have somebody like Rudy who can help you figure out how much you're going to get and then how much you're going to need. Again, our company, I feel, has everybody in there has a specialty that all kind of coincides with what I do. So if someone, just because you might have enough money for retirement, you might not have any life insurance, or you might not have any disability insurance. And as you had taught me, I thought one of the best things you taught me, as far as just way to think about things, is when you insure your greatest asset, it's not your house, it's not your car, it's really you, your income. If you got 10 years to work at $200,000 a year, you're talking about $2 million that you're leaving on the table. God forbid something happens to you. When we bring these things into a plan, I might have a client that is going to retire in 7 or 8 years, and we put a perfect plan together for that, but that money can all go away if we don't put those other things in. So as far as my clientele, I just really love working with people who are like saving for the future. Nowadays you get a lot of people, they're selling a home and they want to take advantage of the 5%, and so taking cash and putting it into something like that, it's easy, but those days are going to end probably tomorrow a little bit. Yeah. And but then again, we have plans for after that comes also. We have great portfolios. Yeah. But that's my ideal client, or people who are really kind of planning for that day, whether it's 20 years from now, 10 years from now, or 5 years from now, or next year. Just put a fantastic plan together for someone to call me up. We've been working together for 5 years. And he said, guess what, we want to retire next year. I was like, whoa, got to put the brakes on some of the stuff we're doing, and we moved everything around, and we know exactly how much money he's going to be making come retirement. And 3 years from then, when Social Security kicks in, and 3 years from that, when everything just worked out perfect.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Good job.
Of those clients that you've worked with over the years, and for our listeners, little piece of advice, what would you say is kind of the greatest piece of advice you've ever shared with your clients? Something that throughout the years really stands out as something you've tried to instill in your clients to help them either be a better investor, better prepared for retirement, or whatever it may be. Just something, a little nugget of wisdom that you've shared over the years that you feel is like something that pops up a lot that would be useful for anyone listening today.
So I got in the business in 2005, and what happened 2 years later?
Right.
Someone rang that bell, and the Great Recession happened. And the one thing I learned then, and that I was able to teach my clients, was don't panic, because the world ended that day. As far as, what did the Dow went from 14 to 6,600, something like that.
Right.
And I just told my clients, I'm like, look, I'm still in. I'm in the same thing you guys are in. Don't panic. Just please let it roll out. If you sell now, you'll never make it back. And they listened, and we came back from it. And we've been through maybe 5 of those. Nothing that bad, but you have these 10% dips. You had COVID. 35% in 2 weeks. It was rough. But I told my client, and by the time COVID happened, when the markets went down that much, I was calling all my clients. I call more when things are down than when things are up, because I don't want to jinx it. Okay. But I'm calling all my clients saying, hey, just want to let you know, don't panic. And they're like, well, why are you calling me? Are you panicked? I'm not panicked. I just want to, like, hey, we've been through this before with you numerous times. And that is because I never really panic when I call them. I just want to make sure everybody's cool and calm and collected and let them know that we're in a great portfolio and our plan hasn't changed. And, you know, the market's recovered. I'll give you guys a question. What percentage has the market recovered?
Since when?
The dawn of time.
Forever.
Do you know the answer?
100%.
It's a pretty smart answer.
We hit any highs today?
I'm here.
Yeah.
But that,
Yeah, I mean,
I think the greatest advice I give clients is don't panic. Just, if I sell for myself, I will sell for you at the same time.
Right.
So if I'm not panicked enough to get, I love my money. Love it. Oh, I love my money. And I know how much money means to people. So if I'm not panicking and selling for myself, I'm not selling for anybody else either. And I instill that in my clients.
Smart.
Okay.
Yeah, I call and ask for money. But the same thing. I call way more impromptu during down markets than I do on every, we have regular reviews and stuff, but it's the, wow, Chris, why are you calling me right now when it's a down market? Just to, share some insight, let them know that we're there. But I typically will ask, we got any extra money lying around? Like, now's a good time to put it into the market. And I feel like that, to your point, it instills confidence, right? Not only am I not panicking, I'm like, let's put more money into it, right? Which I believe is the right thing to do in those times anyway, but it also lends that little like, well, he's not running, he's running towards it, so maybe we should just calm down. And occasionally, somebody goes, no, I actually do have some money lying around, and we throw that into the market, and those are the best times.
Yeah, like Buffett says, when things are, when people panic, it's an opportunity. When people are exuberant, watch out.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about being an advisor?
Helping people. It's such. It's a tough job when markets are going down because you feel for everybody. You just want everybody to do well and be happy. But when you meet people that don't have an advisor, or they don't listen to their advisor, and that's an important part. There's a lot of people out there. When I meet someone that says that what I do is a scam and they don't, they lost half their money when the markets went down in 2008, I'll always ask, did your advisor tell you to sell? No. Well, there you go. You did it to yourself. So I get to help a lot of people. I have a lady that I just call. There's not much I can do for her account. She's very old. But I like to call her and just say hi and see how she's doing. I did grocery shopping for her during COVID.
Wow.
Because nobody knew anything about COVID. And I called all my senior clients, and she called me and said, I would love for someone to go grocery shopping for me. So I was like, damn. So I went to the store and I bought her all this stuff, and a little piece of cheesecake as a little, but people like that, she calls me up and she doesn't call about the market, she just wants to talk. Sometimes people just want to talk. So it's really I love the relationships and being able to help people. And it's a great career. You really are helping people. Like, I think I've said it before, you're not maybe in Africa helping starving people, but you're helping people that have goals and they don't know how to get to those goals. They have their job. Whatever they're working on is what's important to them, and they need help with this, and that's where I come in.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah, that's so good. What about advice that you've received? If you think back throughout your career or your life, is there one piece of advice that's always stuck out to you?
So, when I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, a lot of people who worked for them didn't really embrace what they do, but when I worked for them, I embraced the whole system, and I learned just about everything there is to learn about running a business. And the one thing they taught me was never overpromise and always overdeliver. And if you do that, you'll have clients forever. You just be honest, tell them the truth. I think that's the best advice I've ever gotten was from a company like that, where they preached it and lived it. And even now, when I meet a new client and they're like, "You're going to make me money, right?" I'm like, listen, it's going to be a bumpy ride. I don't want you to think, I even tell people, like, as soon as I put your money in, the markets will be down tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Just, I don't know how, it's like a magical thing that happens.
That's right.
But eventually, everything goes up because the markets eventually go up, and then they go down, and they go up. But I'm very honest with everybody. I'm like, look, don't think this is a magic bullet. If the markets are down, you're down. Okay, don't look at 1,000-point drop and then be surprised you're down. You're not going to be up that day. But with the diversified portfolio, let's just say if Google's down and everything else is up, you're going to be fine. You're going to be up. Right. But I think that just being very honest with people is what makes everything easy for me and makes is this secret of my success.
Yeah. It's usually the most important part of this business. People need to feel like they can trust the person that they're working with, and that comes across when you talk to them. They sense the honesty and that you actually care about them, and that's how the relationship gets formed. And then they start to believe in you. And then going back to what you said previously, then they start to listen to you, and then they make good choices with their money, and then they see success, and then it's a fruitful, prosperous relationship, right? It all starts from the beginning, though, of being honest and showing them that you're trustworthy, earning their trust, and then it grows from there, right?
I think a long time ago, it was like an old guy I met during when I first started in the business. I met this really old guy at an insurance training, and he was talking to me about the markets and everything. And he said something to the effect of, my job isn't to make you rich, you're going to make yourself rich. Mm-hmm. My job is to take your money and make it work for you and get you to the goals that you have to continue to put money in. You can't just put 10 grand in and expect $1 million in 10 years. It's not going to happen. Yeah. So he's like, I always tell people, I'm not going to make you rich. You make yourself rich. My job is to make sure your money's safe, make sure your money grows. We beat inflation. We grow enough to hit the goals that you want to hit, and then when you no longer work, you have the income that you were expecting in the first place.
Right. I used to say that all the time. That was one of my famous ones is I'm not going to make you rich. Going to work and doing what you do is going to make you rich. Saving part of the income that you bring in is what's going to accumulate and make you rich or build up your net worth. But I'm going to find a home for that money that's better than it sitting under your mattress doing nothing, sitting in your checking account doing nothing, sitting in a savings account earning a little modest rate of return. The whole idea of the stock market was, a place where you can put money to have a higher return potential than those other asset classes or just sitting around in cash, right? But we're not, a lot of people, we met with somebody last night, she keeps using the word gambling. There's no gambling here. We're not speculating. We're not speculative investors. We're looking for a nice, stable, somewhat predictable rate of return for the long haul so that we can create projections and know that you're going to reach your goals in the future, right? A lot of people don't understand that. They still think that going to the stock market is going to the craps table, right? They don't understand that you're building portfolios for their ability to weather the up and the down markets and create a somewhat predictable rate of return over time.
Even coming up, everyone expects the Fed to lower rates. So when rates start to go down, we know bond prices are going to start going up, mm-hmm. and that it's not gambling. It might not go up as much as we expect,
right.
But eventually we know it. We know it's an asset class that should do well in a lower rate environment,
Absolutely.
And we got to take advantage of that. I mean, things we do, we take advantage of, and everybody's exuberant. You start looking at these tech companies that are just flying. Eventually you got to say, I'm taking some of this money off the table because it's getting irrational.
Yeah,
it's definitely not putting your money on 32 and hoping it comes in.
Nah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I refer to that a lot in our portfolios, like tactical rebalancing. You've heard me say it before, right? Tactical rebalancing is market gets to an all-time high and some of those tech stocks look overvalued and a little crazy. We don't necessarily want to get rid of them. We want to own them long term, but we do a rebalancing to take some profits off the top and hedge our bets a little bit, and typically that money that comes off the top goes into stocks or other investments that haven't done as well, that are undervalued in our portfolio, and typically they're the next ones to rally, right? And then you kind of do it all over again. It's this back and forth ebb and flow that you get within the portfolio. We did that a lot in 2021 coming out of technology, and then at the end of 2022 when tech had been obliterated, going back into technology, and then middle of this year we took some money out of technology. So playing that ebb and flow is important over time.
Yeah, and the portfolio's done fantastic over time.
Thank you. Yeah, I think everybody's been happy with that. It's done well. Yeah. So I got a question for you. And I say all the time, when clients come to me and they're like, oh man, this is so scary right now, or this, they have some conspiracy theory or something that's really concerning them, I typically will point back throughout history. I got in the business in '98, so I'll point back to like September 11th or the financial crisis or Brexit, or all these different events throughout time that everybody has been nervous and worried about, and has created volatility in the markets. And right now there's a lot that people are talking about. So in your experience with the clients that are coming through the door, you're having conversations with right now, what would you say is kind of the number one thing you feel like clients are concerned about right now and is causing some kind of anxiety, whether it be the election or the dollar or world affairs? I mean, what seems to be the overarching fear that people seem to have at this present moment?
Well, at first, as the new year got kind of kicked in, and all the political talk started, Republican, Democrat, everybody, I started getting a lot of calls saying, hey, it's an election year, and they're typically bad. And I spent the next couple of weeks just calling everybody and just saying, and it's an election year, which is historically a good year. I mean, there have been a few down years during election years, but and don't quote me, I don't know the exact percentage, but I think 84% of the time an election year is a good year, and it's usually a bumpy ride, but as soon as that election happens, the markets hate uncertainty, and when you know who the president is, whether you like him or not, the market usually goes up. It has nothing to do with who's being elected. It just has to do with now there's a direction that the market can take. So that really is one of the first things that I started dealing with this year to calm clients' fears, and I even found a nice little one-pager that showed every single election, and the markets typically go up, so that was one of the big things.
Yeah.
And then when I get people that, like, I saw something on YouTube, or I saw something on X, or I saw something on TikTok.
That's right. I was going to say
I'm
TikTok.
like, you know what, influencers are idiots. You're going to listen, first of all, you don't listen to some 20-year-old without kids tell you how to be a parent when you're 45 years old and you got an 8-year-old. You got to stop looking at influencers and people who are making their money off of you watching. It's almost like the mainstream media now. Unfortunately, I feel it's all a bunch of garbage. I mean, they take one line out of something somebody says and they misinterpret it, and it's very dangerous. Nobody talks about it, nobody seems to care, but I see it all the time. And when I read articles, like, I try to keep myself educated on the economy, on politics, on everything, because this is what I do, is I need to know what's going on. I can read a headline and know if it's an opinion piece. It won't say opinion, but I can read in a headline, like, if somebody mistakenly, well, what do you know about mistakenly? Don't talk about what's in that person's head. Put the facts out there. So people can go online and they listen to, what was it, Ron Paul? What has that guy been talking about the end of the world for 25 years? If you listen to him, you'd be flat broke right now. If you had $1,000, you'd have $900 right now.
Right.
Everyone else has about 8,000, but you would have 900, because you listen to these people that are just there to make you watch so that they can get paid.
Right.
But they usually, like, who's that dude that always does the gold commercials? He's great in the movies. I love that guy.
Yeah.
But, I buy gold. No, you're getting free gold for doing this. But You know,
Right.
gold has done well over the last year, but
Yeah.
you know, let's face it. You know, the markets have done well over the last 20 years.
It's still an asset class. I mean, it pulls back. There's been several times where gold prices have dropped too, so you still got to remember it's an investment.
I remember my uncle's friend called me up. He was a really old guy, back around 2008 and 9. I want to say what was gold, around 1750 back then or something like that.
I forget, but that was the time when everybody was like, you know, gold, gold, gold.
It pulled really up high, and then he's telling me that he paid 15% over just to get it.
Right.
And I was like, you know, just don't put all your money into it.
Right.
But I think it ran right back down to 1,100 after that.
Yeah.
And then to get out, you got to pay 1,500 or 10 to 15% to get out.
Yeah, my uncle on Christmas Eve had that conversation with me. He watched one of those videos. Remember the videos that were really hot at the time where the guy would draw pictures on the whiteboard, and they'd sketch out these little like comic strips that would, you know, tell you to buy gold basically. He had watched one of those, and came to me on Christmas Eve with the whole, I'm going to take everything I own and put it in gold. And I'm like, bad idea, don't do it. But yeah, I think shortly after that, it was, a 30% pullback or something like that. So
Yeah,
hopefully you didn't put everything in there. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's any other asset class. It's going to have its highs and lows. It's, you know, supply and demand. You know, how much are people in demand of it? They drive the price up, and then just about that time, everybody starts to sell it, and it drops again.
Right. And I've had people call me up telling me that, hey, I talked to some guy, he's a mortgage guy, he said if I refinance my house and I take out $400,000 and I should give it to you, and I'm like, nope.
Mm-hmm.
I won't touch that money if you're
Right.
going to do that.
Yeah.
Again, just they see these things and they hear people, but people have their own motivations too.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big karma guy, man. Just do the right thing, and the right thing will happen to you.
Right.
But not everybody's like that. So
Yeah. Going back to your election topic, one of the things I talk to clients a lot about is I try to give them an example of what you're talking about, because I 100% agree with you. Fear of uncertainty is the biggest fear the market faces. When it doesn't know what's going to happen, things get really volatile. You know, you never know what's going to occur at that point. The election is one of those time periods where, when you know the outcome of the election, you know who the next president is, you can kind of look at what their policies are going to look like moving forward, and you have some kind of idea of where you should position your money based on what you think that the political policies of that president are going to look like. So I often use like the institutional money, like a Warren Buffett type, that sits on a lot of cash typically leading up to the election, because they don't want to make those bets ahead of the election because they don't know. And so we're doing the same thing at Prosperitas with our portfolios right now, is waiting around, you know, creating a shopping list of, we want to buy these stocks if Trump gets in office, and we want to buy these stocks if Kamala gets in office, but we're not going to pull that trigger until immediately after the election. We need to know the outcome of the election first before we know which direction we want to go. But a lot of money floods into the market post-election because all that cash that's sitting on the sidelines, they're now like, okay, now we know who the next president is and where this thing potentially is going. And so you see a lot of money flood into different names depending on the outcome of the election, but it still floods into the market. And when money floods into the market, even in different sectors of the market, it tends to drag the market with it. So that is typically the result, right? The election happens, and we typically get a run coming out of the election going into the new year. And some of it is also hope of a new president and new ideas and where are we going to go from here, that type of thing. But I think people are very often confused about elections. They tend to think elections are a bad thing for the market or scary, and I think they're a great opportunity to capitalize on a change of investment strategy and what things are going to look like moving forward.
One of the things that you had mentioned early on is, you know, you enjoy helping clients that align with kind of where you are in your life. And so, as you mentioned, Hannah being 12 now, I can't believe it. I mean, that happened quickly from just hearing that. And I'm sure even quicker for you, you know, raising her and watching her swim. But at 12 years old, you're probably, you know, kind of, you at least set the North Star on like, all right, there's going to be college at some point in the next, you know, 5 years. So are you having that discussion? Are you like, what are you changing or thinking about as you go through that process of like, you're going to have a daughter in college probably before you know it. So how are you planning for that now?
Well, I told her she needs to keep swimming and get a scholarship so Daddy doesn't have to pay that kind of money.
Good.
But again, I'm in this business, and I grew up pretty poor. We did the food stamp thing. I was too embarrassed. I used to take the food stamps, throw them out, use my paper route money. I mean, I've been through it. And, I even meet clients sometimes, they're like, I know it's just a measly $60,000. I'm like, dude, nothing's measly. This is your money. I understand how important this is to you. So I've always been a planner because my parents didn't plan. And, I saw the downside of that. I saw the month to month and not understanding where the money's going to come from. And kids shouldn't really see that, but I got to see it. And I knew that I never wanted to be like that when I was older. I just wanted to know, like, where's my money? So I've always been a planner. So I've been saving up a little bit for Hannah's education. Truthfully, I'm not one of those parents that thinks college is an experience and they should just go and doesn't matter what it costs. Like, if you want to be an engineer, like if you get accepted to MIT and you want to be a nurse, I'm not sending you to MIT unless you're getting a full scholarship. If you want to be an engineer and that's your goal and your dream and MIT wants you, I'll do whatever I can to make that happen. Same with law. Maybe not some of these Ivy Leagues anymore, but that's a different political issue. But, I meet people and they're sending these kids to these $70,000 schools for economics or something you can get from Northridge. Or college isn't about an experience. It's about going and creating the foundation of a better life for yourself. It doesn't mean that not going to college doesn't get you the better life. I mean, God damn, I wish, if I think back, if I knew what I know now, if I knew then what I know now, I'd have been a fireman in California, and on the side, on those extra days off, I'd be working as an electrician, and I would make a sick amount of money, because a lot of the trades make a lot of money. People are so into college and saying, oh, you got to go to college or else you're not going to be successful. It's not true. Some of the most successful people I know that have all the great toys and just love their lives they do some type of a trade. And I used to do a trade when I was in New York. I used to do flooring, so I have a trade. It's a hard trade, and my knees are shot, but college, in my opinion, is about going and learning about, at that point I would figure you pretty much know what you want to be. If you don't know what you want to be, you're going to COC or community college. It's not an insult. It's just get all those little electives out of the way so that if you're going to spend the big money, at least learn the stuff that you need to learn for the actual career. But I save money just to have it available. I think I've got, she's 12. I probably got about 2 years worth of college savings for her. If she gets scholarships or extra money, that's a bonus. But it's going to be what she wants to do. And you and I have talked about this, Chris, and I've even told my daughter, I'm like, listen, I want you to know, I talked to my guy that owns their company, I just want you to know, if one day you don't know what you want to do and you don't really have a desire for anything specific, that college is necessary, and you want to take over Daddy's business, I will teach you everything you need to know. I will hand this off to you. And so, there's a lot of options out there for every kid, but there's no reason to go 200 grand in debt for a liberal arts degree. I listen to a lot of stuff online, and everyone's got an opinion. I personally think that you look at what your career choice is and how much the average salary in that choice is. So if you want to be a doctor or lawyer, and I don't know about some lawyers, but if you want to be a doctor, not all lawyers make a lot of money. I met some that made me not want to be a lawyer when I graduated.
Very true.
But doctor, they make a lot of money. Maybe you make $250 a year. If you make $250 a year and your college costs you $250, you're going to be able to pay that loan off. But if you're paying $250 for college for a $50,000 a year job, you made a mistake. So if you want a $50,000, if you're going into something, let's say, I don't know, I'm not going to say a career and offend half the people on here, but you know, if you want to go into art history and the average salary of someone in that is a $50,000 a year job, you will find yourself a $10,000 a year school, and you learn that. I mean,
there goes all our art history listeners. Gosh, dang it.
They usually don't have a lot of money anyway. So, but in general, I mean, think about it. College isn't supposed to be an experience. When I went to college, it wasn't for the experience. In fact, my first year, I had a great experience and pissed off my parents because my grades weren't good. It's not the experience. They wanted me to go and try to create a better life for myself than what they had.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm saving for her education, but it's going to be done in a smart way. It's not going to be some, oh, you want to go do this? Like, I do have a client, and hopefully he's not going to watch this, but he's got enough money that it didn't matter. But he was telling me, he's like, yeah, my kid's going to school in Hawaii. I'm like, oh my God, that's, wow, where are they studying? He's like, nursing. And I said to him, like, dude, there's no cheaper nursing schools here. And he's like, nah, it's okay, I can afford it. I want her to have fun. I can appreciate that. If you have money and it's not gonna break the bank and it's not gonna reflect on your retirement funds, and yeah.
For sure.
There's different situations, but when you're just a regular person and you're trying to save for retirement, don't go spending all your retirement money on something that is...
I think that's the important point, right? You really have to understand how it fits into the bigger picture. If you're going to sacrifice your happiness in the future, your retirement, other things, just because you want to send your kid to a school that's at a high level and a high expense, when it's not necessary for them to go there, that's something that as planners we need to discuss with those clients and make them understand the sacrifice they're making, and is it worth making that sacrifice for what they're going to gain out of it, right? Really painting the picture and helping them understand what they're getting out of that. You know, we've talked about it all the time. My son's the same way. I'm like, you don't have to go to college. I don't even really want you to go to college. I'd want you to come here, study my business, take over the business. I tell him all the time, I'm like, you know, you come here straight out of high school and learn how to do what I'm doing. You're going to learn how to do it faster. You're going to get into the business faster. And by the time your friends graduate college, you're going to have 4 years of making money. You're probably going to buy your first house before them. You're going to have retirement savings that's going to have a longer compounding effect over time. You're going to be way ahead of everybody by starting straight out of high school, then going and spending 4 years in college getting a degree, when you're going to learn everything from me anyway, and you don't necessarily need that degree to come take over the business. Not everybody's that lucky, right? I will play devil's advocate a little bit though. I agree with you. I think a lot of people want to go to college to party and drink, and that's the experience, right? And I don't necessarily think that college is about that. I do think that there is some level of maturity, self-awareness, independence, some things that come from college that are an important lesson. Can they get that at a school that is of a lower cost? Probably. But some of that, I have to wake myself up in the morning. I have to get to my classes on time. I have to figure out when I'm going to eat throughout the day. I have to figure out how to make new friends and be alone a lot. It's speaking from experience right now. You know, my daughter's, a month into her first year of college, my first one off to college. And I would say one of the biggest things she's mentioned a lot with that experience is how alone she is all the time. And really, if you think about it as adults, we're alone a lot. If you compare us to kids, like kids are interacting with their friends and they're at school and they're around people a lot. But as adults, you spend a lot of time like in your office, working, doing your thing, in your car, driving. So from a kid's perspective, all of a sudden they get to college and they're like, gosh, I'm just, I'm in my room alone a lot. But I think that's some of the maturity that comes with it, turning them into adults. That is part of that process that I think it does help with. But I agree with you. I don't think everybody needs to go to college just because you have to have a degree. I think there's a lot of people that could go down a different road or a less expensive college and get to the same place and be a lot happier in the long run because they don't have all the debt or the cost that goes along with it.
Right. And then I agree with that totally. There's, like when I went to college, again, I told you my first year, my parents weren't thrilled with me. my time management skills, weren't that great.
Yeah, it's tough when mom's been waking you up every day.
Not to mention, you meet your roommates for the first time and they all like to party just like you. But again, after that first year, and again, it wasn't an expensive school. So, yeah, time management, learning all that stuff is fantastic. As long as you're learning a career that is going to be beneficial to you down the road.
Yeah.
Again, it's not for everyone, but it seems like we want everyone to go. I look at like Mike Rowe. If you look at that guy and what he says, there's a lot of great career choices out there that people are going to be super happy with.
Absolutely. I have clients that are, in the trade of fixing escalators and elevators. They've got, pensions. They've got $250,000 a year coming in, and they're young, and they went a different route, right? So there is a lot out there that I think if people, kids expand their thinking, and there's a lot of opportunity out there that doesn't necessarily require going through all of that, and appeals to some people that probably don't know what they want to do. So there's a lot of stuff out there that I think gets forgotten over time, for sure.
AI can't fix an elevator too, so at least
right?
not yet.
It's a safe trade.
Maybe you could take it over one day.
Exactly. It's probably inevitable.
You're not allowed to get out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I have a somewhat tactical question, just since we're on the topic. It's been coming up quite frequently lately, but as far as college savings vehicles, you have the 529, which is the easy kind of go-to. Everyone thinks, I'm saving for college, I'm going to open a 529 account. You have the custodial account, or you just have a kind of brokerage account, maybe even a joint savings account, something like that with your child. What's your college savings method of choice?
So I like the 529 plans because they're plans. You could put your money in it, someone's managing it, and it's way better than doing nothing. Also, if your kid is definitely going to go to college, the gains for the most part are going to be tax-free, and that's a big thing. For us, again, I'm a financial advisor. I look at this stuff all day long. I just buy different stocks for my daughter, or S&P fund, or QQQ. Like, again, I'm managing it as if it's my own money. And because if she doesn't go to college, I'll buy an RV or something. Or buy her a house. Yeah. Well, we'll see. But if she doesn't go to college, we have a nice large chunk of money. But because I do this for a living, it's just in a regular account. It's because when it comes time to college, it's not going to matter whose name's on the account. What's going to matter is the check being sent to the college. So it's just an account in my name, but it's earmarked for her.
Got it.
But 529s, I like 529s because you're in a diversified portfolio in a sense. They put you into these, these time funds. It's like as the kid gets older, it gets a little more conservative. You're invested in the market. Market goes up, you go up. You're beating inflation, hopefully, and it's just a different investment plan with the possibility of a tax advantage at the end.
Yeah, interesting. What's your savings method of choice for that?
I think I'm always going to default to the everybody's unique and individual, and that it's not a one size fits all solution for anybody. I really try to understand the client situation and try to look out into the future, because you also have to think about, are they going to be attempting to get any kind of financial aid? What is their financial situation going to look like at that time? Do we want money in the kid's name, their name? What are the odds of their kids going to college? What are their opinions? A lot of times clients will tell you, I don't really care if my kids go to college. Well, hard to really put a lot of money into a 529 if they're the sense or the kind of view of the household is, college, maybe, I don't really care. So I just really try to understand, the whole dynamic of the family and what they, most likely are going to need, and then try to come up with a solution that fits. And sometimes that means a little bit of everything. I may have a little in a 529, but I may not want to full fund it where we get too much in there and have a couple other things going on at the same time. So it's really not a one size fits all answer.
I like that. Thanks for your input. That's good.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. That's good.
Can we get to the shameless plug?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, shameless plug. So here's what I'd really love to hear from you, because it makes us feel good every time someone answers the question. But also for any maybe advisors that are checking this out that are thinking about joining Prosperitas or our company as a whole, what was it about Prosperitas that kind of attracted you to joining the firm? And now that you've been here with us for, I mean, you're one of our first advisors to join the team, so you've been with us for a while now. What would you tell anyone else that's thinking about joining the firm of, why you're happy that you're here, or vice versa? If you don't want to talk trash about us and tell us why you're unhappy you're here, you can go ahead and do that too. But a little bit of why you decided to come, what drew you in, and what has your kind of experience been up to this point?
Well, I started here because I lost a bet. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, so I'll just start by saying...
Thank God Scott made that bet.
I absolutely love it here. Okay, I'm going to tell you that right now, and everybody watching and listening, I absolutely love it here. So I worked at Morgan Stanley for about 11 years, and I liked it. It was a great company. It really was. I worked at Wells Fargo for 4 years, and I was absolutely miserable. And the reason I was miserable was because all they did was preach client satisfaction and making the client happy and helping the client and employee satisfaction, and they couldn't have been more full of it. All they cared about was the C-suite and making sure their name didn't get dragged in the mud.
Right.
And it changed the way I looked at the business. Is I didn't want to work for somebody anymore that was going to tell me what my priorities are going to be with my clients. I like working with smaller clients. They like the help. They appreciate it. There's not a lot of companies out there that will take a client with $100,000 and help them. A lot of the bigger companies have $250,000 or $500,000 minimums, and I had a lot of clients like that were smaller, and I didn't get paid from these companies. They would take the money from the client and keep it. I didn't get my cut, but I loved helping these clients because they appreciated it. And when I was at Wells Fargo, COVID happened, and I found myself working from home and just saying to myself, this is the time when I left Morgan Stanley and went to Wells Fargo, I wanted to really kind of go independent anyway. I wanted to be my own advisor. And I didn't want anybody telling me what kind of clients I could take. I wanted to be able to help anybody who wants help. So when COVID happened, I had an opportunity to do research, and I checked with a lot of different companies that do independent stuff. And slightly before COVID, Scott, who was one of the forefathers, was like, hey, you got to meet these guys. And so he brought me in to meet with you. And the way you talked about it, what the goal was, or the plan, was exactly what I was looking for. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. When I first got into the business with Morgan Stanley, I had a client, and may he rest in peace, but his name was Dan Fagan. I used to rent cars to him. He was a basketball agent, and really nice guy. I really liked this guy. And when I got into the business, I thought, man, I'm going to call this guy, and I'm going to get all these basketball players, and my life's going to be groovy. And I called him up and I said, hey, this is what I'm doing now, and I would love to work with you. And he said, Fred, I would love to send you business, but I sold my business to this company. And he told me, he's like, we do life insurance, real estate, mortgages, like everything that an athlete or a celebrity with a lot of money could possibly need. They had somebody in their company. And I always thought to myself for years, that would be such a great idea. Because Morgan Stanley was a one-shot pony. I mean, just to do life insurance, you had to send it out to somebody else.
Okay.
Wells Fargo, they had partners, but it was the same thing. So when Scott came to me and introduced me to you, and you're telling me, we want to do life insurance, we got somebody for that, we have disability, we have, P&C, and we're going to do all this stuff, and we want to be a one-stop shop. We want trust attorneys, and like, holy crap, that's exactly what I'm looking for. I can focus on what I do and have a great partner to work with on, that's all part of the same company. And so after we had that conversation, COVID happened, and it really started making me think, I'm so much happier working from home than going into Wells Fargo office, that I started doing my homework and my due diligence and checking with different companies, and this, what you guys offered was, I could do what I want to do. You had the same philosophy that I have as far as portfolios go.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe in diversified portfolios and creating our own portfolios and managing them. And just being that one-stop shop where, you know, it really is like a family atmosphere. You know, you guys handle the compliance, and I have an assistant, and I have an office if I need to come in and meet with a client. Anything that I can possibly need, any kind of support, I have. You know, we partner with different companies to help me with annuities and things like that. Everything is just so seamless. And if a client comes to me with $100,000 or with $60,000 and I want to help them, I can help them. And nobody's sitting there telling me that that client's too small.
Right.
Send them to a call center.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I love my clients. Some of my smallest clients have become my biggest clients too.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, and that's why we love you. You know, we always say we're not just trying to bring in every advisor that can fog a mirror. Like, we want very specific people to join the firm that share our philosophy. And what we love about you is what you just said, which is you want to help everybody. And that is the philosophy. Our philosophy has always been, we wanted to create a place where no matter who you were, ultra wealthy to somebody who's just getting started, we would have a solution to be able to bring you in, give you good advice, give you the things that you need to be successful, and set you in a trajectory that would put you on a path to be able to accomplish the goals you have for the future. And so we want to partner up with advisors like you that love their clients. They just want to help people. I mean, that's what we're in this business for. Like you said beforehand, you know, this business is really great. Like, I'm almost 30 years in this business. I got some people, I've got some that have passed away that were like family. I got a ton of people that are in my book of business that, you know, we're more than a client financial advisor relationship at this point. I'm invested in their life, their future, their family. I want them to be successful just like you do. And so we appreciate you, and we appreciate you being here because you're one of the good ones. The people that have you as a financial advisor are definitely lucky to have you.
I agree.
As you should.
But it is true, and if anybody out there is looking for a firm, just talk. You know, it doesn't cost anything to
Have
make a call,
conversation.
get the information, compare it to whatever's out there. But again, it's the partnerships. Again, I'm just going to use Rudy as an example again. The college planner. You know, I tell people, I'm like, oh, your kid's got 3 years till school. You know, maybe you kind of missed the boat a little on saving, but talk to this guy, because he doesn't just throw you into some portfolio or put you to somebody to give you a portfolio. He's helping your kids with essays. He's giving you a realistic shot at, like, this is probably not going to be a school for you, but...
Or like you said before, tell you, based on what you're trying to accomplish and based on what your client or your parents' financial picture looks like, you shouldn't be picking these colleges. Like, he helps you really narrow it down to these are the colleges you should be even looking at based on what you have available, what you're looking to do.
And the people we have in this company are just fantastic. And then, like you said, I mean, I think I started 1 month after we opened our doors.
Yeah, you were right there.
And again, I've watched it grow from, you know, 4 advisors.
We
and
started with 4, yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's like we're busting at the seams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good problem to have.
Yeah,
It is.
Absolutely.
So if anybody's watching this and you want to come to Prosperitas, all you got to do is say, Fred sent me.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
There you go.
That's right.
Nice
Fred
plug.
sent me.
I like. Don't forget, Fred sent me.
All right, get your calculator out, Fred.
All right.
Like I said, you have a major advantage because, you know, a lot of our advisors, a lot of our team had to make these answers 6
Yeah.
months ago.
Right.
So you better be on point.
A smaller window. But I love your confidence when we told you this before we started recording, that you said, I still would have nailed it because I know exactly what the market was going to do this year. That was your answer. So just everybody watching, he said, even if we would ask him these questions in January, he would have spot on. He knew exactly what was going to happen. All right.
So
here we go.
Are we looking like
there's 4
penny?
It's going to be who gets the closest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's the highest?
And there's no like over, you can't go
provide that
over. This isn't the Price is Right? So you can go over, under. It's just going to be who gets the closest. And there's 4 questions here, okay? And we're going to add up all of them together to find the winner. And it's going to be a prize for the winner. So S&P 500 by the end of the year.
So right now we're at 56.
I didn't bring my pen, so I can't write these down. So
it's recorded.
It's recorded. Good point.
57.10.
57.10. Okay. NASDAQ.
17,628. Let's say, I'm just pulling stuff out of it.
I thought you were going to use your calculator.
Yeah, where's your crystal ball?
Well, I was going to do percentages, but I'm tired. I can't figure it out. Let's just go 18.1.
18.1. Okay. Dow Jones.
42.5.
42.5. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's your professor, it's your teacher, it's your friends, me. Don't take anything anyone says as truth. Always do your own research. Always make up your own mind. And if more people would carry on with that philosophy, the mainstream media wouldn't be so dangerous. But the mainstream media is dangerous because so many people are willing to take the headline and the little snippet of information or the misinformation and take it as truth right off the bat without doing their own research. And so you got a lot of people spewing a lot of information back to other people that isn't even factual information, and they've never taken the time, other than that headline that scrolled across their social media page, to actually find out if what they're reposting actually carries any weight or has any facts behind it. That's the unfortunate part. And we have too much freedom at this point for everybody to just share, and so everything looks like it's factual when it's all just nonsense. It's unfortunate.
I mean, again, I was one of those people, I want to say, maybe 8 years ago, where I used to sit there and say, why don't they just tell the truth? Like, why don't people understand? Why isn't the information getting out there? And someone challenged me to go find the information on my own, and I did. And I sat there and I'm like, well, that's not what he said. And that's not what she said. It's the complete opposite of what was said. But all of a sudden I started to learn that, and this was before Trump, okay? This was before Trump.
It's been happening for a long time.
But
yeah,
when these companies are private companies that, I mean, they're public, but they're private companies. It's somebody's up there with an agenda, and unfortunately it's not like it was when I was a kid and you'd watch the 5 o'clock news and they'd say, this is what happened in China, this is what happened in New York, this is what happened here. Now it's, this is what happened. So let's bring in the former person who hasn't had this position for 50 years, come in and tell you why. And it's like...
Yeah. I think what's more disturbing to me is how hard it is to find the factual information. When you read something and you go, is that true? And then you go digging to try and find the real information, how difficult it is to actually track down the real information. That part's troubling to me. Like, we should have a source to be able to really get to the real information, but it's not that easy.
Even in our industry, in 2008, I think I even texted you, or maybe it was my other friend, but there was a guy, I won't mention his name, but in 2009, so right after, March 9th, 2009, the market started going back up. And I think we were rolling. I think we were up a couple thousand points and everybody was kind of happy. And this guy comes out and says, starts talking about the end of the world again. And I got his name and I'm like, this son of a, I'm so mad. And I start doing some digging and I start looking stuff up. And the guy was the quintessential bear. If you listen to this guy, you will make 20% once every 10 years, but you will miss out on 150%.
Yeah.
And I just wished that there was a place like, for politicians, for analysts, for economists. They come out and they say, this is what it's going to do. And then when it does the complete opposite, they say, see, I told you. And nobody questions it. They go on CNBC all the time. Every once in a while they'll burn somebody, but no one questions it.
I always say when you're wrong, people forget, because everybody's wrong. There's so much wrong guesses, right? They just get swept under the rug. But when you're right, become Michael Burry or somebody like that, where you become famous, right? Because you were right that one time. So it's almost like when you're in that position, you're almost incentivized to make big, outlandish calls, because when you get them wrong, they get forgotten.
Nobody knows, nobody cares.
But you get one right, and now you're selling books, and you're going on a tour, and you've got movies being made about. I mean, you hit the jackpot by getting it right one time. So it does. It kind of gives them an incentive to make these big calls, which is.
I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a guy who follows crypto, and he's been saying that Bitcoin, for the last 6 or 7 years, every year it's like, this is the year it goes to 200,000.
Well, that's the other thing. I feel like there should be a source to be able to look up how these people are invested. If you can go on TV and tell us these big calls that you're making, then I want to see, because a lot of times what you find out is that bear you're talking about, he made a big bet against the market, and then he's using his platform to try and convince people that the market's going to crash soon, hoping, right, that it will crash because he got a big bet against the market, right? So the same with the Bitcoin guy, where you're like, well, yeah, he's got his life savings in there. Of course he wants you to believe it's going to 250.
Now it just went up 10% because he opened his mouth and he just dumped, and all of you were jumping in.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the other thing, that the new version of the pump and dump scheme, right? Go buy a bunch of something, go on your platform, tell the whole world that it's going through the roof, get a bunch of people to get all hyped up about it, buy it, drive the price up, and then you sell your position, right? It's just, it's almost like a legal version of the pump and dump scheme.
Roaring kitty, right?
You got it. Didn't turn out
to a point, but it worked out for him. I don't know if it worked out. It worked out for him. That dude's richer and got money.
Yeah.
But I want to thank that guy for every time he opens his mouth, I'm like, oh, let's get into. I'm not going to say think the SEC's watching, but
that's where I'm like, some of these people are getting themselves in trouble.
God forbid I say something right now. The SEC's here, but this guy can do whatever he wants. And
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So on that note, it started with the belt buckle, ended with politics and some media headlines. It was great having you on the podcast, Fred. Where can people get in touch with you?
At Prosperitas Financial, but hopefully. I don't know how these things work. You're going to put like a phone number.
Sure.
But you put my
what's
number.
Your 1-800?
310-502-2752. That's my cell number. Call at any time. If you call the office number, it'll ring over, but I don't answer that because it's usually somebody trying to sell me something. But my cell, all my clients have it, and that's how I reach out to people. You leave me a message if I don't answer, and I will call you back. When you call me, you're not going to get some call center in India. You call our company, you're going to get your advisor or the assistant, and you will be taken care of. Also, if anybody's looking for a good charity to donate to, I'm on the board of Family Promise. I'm also on the cover of Santa Clarita Magazine this month.
You are looking very handsome.
You are.
Yeah, my family's making a lot of fun of me.
I bet they are.
Everybody's got their arms down. I look like I'm holding my stomach up, but really I've just got my arms down. But it took me 19 years to get on the cover, so I'm getting ready to get some blow-ups and I'll put them in my office.
Nice.
You're wearing your best shoes in that one, too. I think only I noticed, because I know what those bad boys
Are we talking
look
blow-up pictures, or like a blow-up version of you holding your stomach up?
Blow-up picture of the cover. Nobody needs extra.
I was looking for more of like the like one of those old punching bag dolls with the thing at the bottom.
Ooh, I would like to get one of those.
Yeah,
my daughter would love that.
There you go, good idea.
But that's why I work out, so that my stomach looks smaller. The bigger I get up here, the smaller this guy gets.
I like it.
As you get older, you will see how much harder it is to make that go away.
Yeah.
You guys are still young.
What are you talking? I don't think we're that far off in age, buddy.
I'm 54.
Wow.
Wait till you're 50. That's when
Jeez.
Stuff starts to fall apart. This guy's what, 20?
He's about to have a baby any minute. He's in a whole different world.
Yeah.
He's starting to get the lines. Yeah, it's starting to come.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's the lighting.
But Family Promise is a great organization, local, Santa Clarita. Just want to plug that.
Excellent.
Awesome. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks
for having me.